Hey everyone, it's the Aries 1999 here with my next video on my new tabletop role-playing game, Dwelvers in the Dungeon. Last time we talked about generally how skill checks and combat works, so now we're going to go more specifically into your various combat options. And so on your turn, you basically have three things that you can do. You can move around, you can take a short action, and then you can take a full action. So let's look into what that's like.
So start off with a short action. The most common form of a short action is to make a skill check to determine something about the nature of another creature, the environment, or the objects in a room. And it's also, a short check to change around what weapons you're holding or to rummage through your bag, things like that. Get out a potion, something like that. That's often a short action. Although if something's within your immediate grasp, you might be able to do that just for free. Okay, but now let's look into the various types of actions. So first and foremost, it's an action to make an attack. We've been over this several times. It's weapon dice plus base stat plus weapon skill minus defense score, and then that's whatever's left over is dealt as damage. All pretty straightforward. Now, in addition to weapon attacks, all Dwelvers can also attempt a number of basic attacks. So, for instance, you can try to trip someone. That's pretty straightforward. You just try to knock them to the ground. You can grasp someone, which is where you grab onto them. You can punch them, which, again, pretty straightforward. You're just, trying to hit them right in the face. And then you can strangle them. That's a special type of grasp that deals ongoing suffocation damage. So remember we mentioned suffocation damage was one of the rarer types, but this is one of the few ways that you can deal it to another creature. So it's easier for them to break out of this than it is a normal grasp, but they also can't breathe as well, so there's a penalty to breath hold checks. So maybe you want to dunk someone into the river while you're strangling them. You've got some options there. And another one of your main actions in combat is to defend. So basically, you just take a stance to ward off attacks. You don't need to be wearing any special type of armor or holding a shield to do anything like that. But of course, if you are holding a shield, that increases your defense. And your defense also goes up a little bit more if you haven't moved it all that round. So maybe you just want to stand in the middle of the battlefield and just hold firm.
Stand! We threw everything we had at him! How is he still standing?
How? Well, it's quite simple, really. You see, girlie, you may think you got me all figured out, but there's one thing you didn't account for. My numbers are bigger than yours.
Next is use magic. If the Dwelver knows a spell, then they may cast one, and we're going to go over more about how spellcasting works next time. Next, a Dwelver can try to distract. A distraction is when, you try to get the attention of one creature away from the other Dwelvers or an NPC. And basically, the distracting Dwelver makes it easier for the creature to attack them, but in exchange, everyone else has an easier time attacking that creature. And so this is usually just a pretty straightforward system of, benefits to the creature against the distractor, and then benefits for the rest of the distractor's allies. But there are ways that you could make that go more in your favor. For instance, the game master might reward you for coming up with a clever way to get the creature's attention, like holding up a food item that the creature would enjoy, something like that. Next, you can render aid. This is going back to those first aid checks that we mentioned last session, and that's just, where you try to stabilize a creature and prevent them from being actively dying. Okay, next let's look at tactics and positioning. So, the battlefield is rarely static, and there are often many things that you can do to give yourself the upper hand. First is types of cover, and so, a creature can move around something to get natural shielding, and it comes in 3 different levels. There's partially covered, heavily covered, or fully covered, where basically it's nearly impossible to attack someone, but hey, maybe you just want to make a demolition check to get through their cover. That's always an option. Next is high ground. If you're at least 5 feet above a target, but still within range of a melee attack, then you gain bonuses to those melee attacks. And, this could conceivably be achieved by a small Dwelver riding on top of a large Dwelver. And yes, everyone go ahead and make that Star Wars joke in the comments, but you know what? I have far too highbrow of humor, so I'm not going to insert that clip here. Okay. Next is unstable footing. Some areas, like, being in water or on loose soil or in a debris field, just make it harder to move around safely. So when you're in these kind of areas, all walking speed is reduced. And you can also create unstable footing by, say, demolishing a bookcase or by throwing a bunch of ball bearings on the ground. And similar to unstable footing is slippery ground. And so this carries all of the same movement penalties as unstable footing, but it's also a lot easier to trip people. And this could be caused by, walking across ice or being on an oil slick. So just, careful where you step. And the last thing that we're going to be looking at is called a called shot. And so when making any kind of attack, you can try to make a called shot to aim more precisely. When you do, you take a penalty to your roll, but if any damage is dealt, then you're going to do a lot extra. And this could also be where teamwork comes in. If the warrior is making a called shot against a boss monster, then the scout might try to act as a distraction. Boom. That way, you're getting those stacking penalties and being a team. Who would have thought it?
I know. I'll go in and create a distraction, and you get the key.
Oh, wait! I want to do the distraction!
Okay, I guess it really doesn't matter who does the distraction.
Can I have everybody's attention?
And so that's all we have for today, talking about your main combat options. Next time, we're going to be going over spells and special abilities. That's going to be a fun one. Let's see now. If you want to see another video from me talking about combat options in TTRPGs, I have one from a few years ago talking about homebrewing combat for 5e. So let me know what you think about this video down in the comments. I'm going to try to follow up with the next one soon. Till then, have a great day and God bless.